So I was talking to this buddy of mine last week who's a modern classical composer. And he was talking about taking lessons with some famous modern classical composers that have won particular awards. And the one thing that they told him is stay away from tonality, stay away from music theory. So I said, well, the people that really know how to use harmony that I've seen over the past 20 years or so are not modern classical composers. They're film composers. Now, I'm not talking about just simplistic film scoring. I'm talking about people that have sophisticated palates. Somebody like Thomas Newman. I always bring up Thomas Newman, and one of the reasons is that he actually knows how to use harmony. He knows how to use sophisticated harmony and voice leading. If you take a cue like Weehawken Ferry, that's a cue from Cinderella Man. It's from the late 90s or so. And there's some really sophisticated line writing in it. And there are beautiful dissonances, but they're handled like a tonal composer would handle them. This is really bridging this gap between where 20th century music left off, I believe, in the early part of last century, where people didn't explore things like modes, for example. Some composers did. Vaughan Williams, Holst, people like that. But they didn't get explored, for example, like jazz musicians did it in the 50s and 60s and later on even. I've made hundreds of videos on this channel where I've taken scales that I guarantee you most of these guys have never heard of. And there are so many ideas to be mined from this. Before you even go off into writing serial music or atonal music or just writing off some synthetic scales that you just put together, there are ways of using tonality that are not atonal, but that are also not really explored in great depth. So what I've done for today's episode is I've composed a piano piece. I'd say it's a work in progress still, but I'm going to play it for you. And I want to talk about some of the techniques I've used. There are techniques that you've heard on this channel before, but typically I would talk about them isolated. So let me play you the piece, and then we'll talk about it. Now, it may sound really out there to some people, but I think most of you will agree that it still sounds tonal. Even if you take that last sonority or chord of the song, right? So it has a darkness and a dissonance to it. Well, the chord is F sharp major with the suspended over a G major spread triad. So you have these two competing tonalities. F sharp major. I have that sus4 in there. It's actually to reinforce the third of the G major chord and create that tension in the upper sound. Those are two competing tonalities, but they are tonalities. If I take the very opening of the piece, now this actually came about by improvising. So I improvise, and then I go back and I say, I like this, I don't like this, and then I start writing things down. I started out in this case with this sound, but it turned into, and then it moved down a half step. So what are these? Well, this first sound, this first sonority is really related to C sharp minor, which moves down to a C minor. So it's going from C sharp minor to C minor. But then that C minor moves into F major with the sus4, and then moving to an E flat major with the sixth, and then it moves to, there's F sharp major 7, but it's in inversion, right? If I put the F sharp in the bass. Now, because there are inversions here, they sound like they are floating in a way, that they don't have natural grounding, because there isn't the bass motion, just because of the register of this. But the counterpoint, I'll play it for you again. So when I play, and then I play, that has direction to it. It has melodic direction. It has predictability. This to this is predictable. Then you're hearing that line moving, that melodic direction in the line. If you were to just take those little points and plot them out on a graph, you see this ascending motion. Check it out again. And then so I brought that sound in because I hear that modulation going from F sharp major 7 down to F Aeolian. That sound of the and then this, that would be an upward modulation, okay, going from F sharp major 7. Check it out. It's a beautiful sound. You notice the lift, that F sharp raising up to the G there. So you're going from the key of F sharp Lydian to F Aeolian. And that leads us to the next section. That section begins with the polychord of C major over F sharp 5. And then it goes to D major over E flat 5, and then D major goes to D sus 4. So you have the 2, and then you're going F sharp major to F sharp minor to F major to A minor, and then E major to E minor, and then to D minor. But the bass motion of it creates the polytonalism, okay? So it'd be... You're hearing these different... And then... That's a full polychord because that's C major. And then this is F minor, or D minor, I'm sorry, over B major. You have B major and D minor. Then we move into our next area. Once again, I'm creating energy, but this time I'm doing it through odd groupings. Let's listen to it. I'll play it slowly. As a composer, you have multiple devices to use to create intensity and energy. You have rhythmic devices using odd times, for example, like I did in this, where I'm going from 15/16 to 11/16 to 10/16. You can use register. I start out in this low register. The ostinato pattern starts out down here. And then you can also use harmonic intensity by the types of intervals, harmonic and melodic combined, because I'm going from... And then I go into, there's one area of intensity where I've got this D flat Lydian triad, then I go to E flat Lydian triad, which is in inversion. Both these are in inversion, over C sharp. That gives you melodic and harmonic intensity as well. So you want to use all those things at your disposal: rhythmic, register, melodic, and harmonic. And I'm doing that while still retaining tonality. There is tonality to this. These are really obvious sounds that I can call out. Another thing to take into account is whether or not it's stylistically appropriate for the instrument. Is it something that a piano player would play? I'll play another little section here. Now, that idea right there, that section, is an idea I got from the Chopin Black Keys Etude. Now, you'd say, well, that doesn't sound anything like it. It doesn't harmonically, but the right and left hand combinations are similar. Check it out again. Another important thing is your line direction, your melodic direction, especially when you're doing things that are moving rapidly. I'll play this little section here. Now it begins with a trill and a winding left hand. Check it out again. Everything about this part is tonality based, but it still sounds modern. At the end of the piece, I wanted to tie things together. I wanted to have a particular type of climax to the piece. Let's check it out. That's all for now. Please subscribe here to my Everything Music YouTube channel if you're interested in the Beato book, which has all these concepts in it. go to my website at www.rickbeato.com. And if you're interested in supporting the channel even more, check out the Beato Club, which you can also find on my website. Thanks for